Welcome to More For Me by yours truly, Kat Necole. What up, homie? What's going on with you? What's good? I pray that all is well your way. Things are going pretty well. We're mixing it up today, recording on a different day. And for whatever reason, I'm pretty giddy. Uh, a lot of takes. Let's just say there are a lot of takes in order to come right here before you now and say that it is a privilege and an honor to be with you today here in the studio. If you guys don't know by now, this is one of my favorite things to do every week is really to come here and kick it with the homies on the Homieship. If this is your first time joining and you're new to the Homieship, I want to say welcome. And if this is not your first time, welcome back to the Homieship. Why do we gather here every week? Well, I love to come together with my homies and to talk about my experiences, past and present. And I believe in sharing my experiences with you that it helps me process my journey, but it also lets you know that you're not alone. Sometimes we might have similarities in our journeys, but in general, just that we can all realize that life is about processing and journeying. Where are we going? I believe that we are on a journey headed towards the destination of more. God has more for me in this life, and I definitely believe the same for you. What is more exactly? It doesn't matter your wildest dreams, biggest visions. It just doesn't matter. Whatever you think, God has more in store for you. That's the great news. So no matter low or how high you think of yourself, like God's like, psh, you ain't seen nothing yet. And that just brings me so much joy and excitement to know that there's a God out there that my God loves me that much. And he's called me and prepared such a thing for me. And so every week I want to share even things that I'm processing in like live real time, just to let you know that it's possible to keep the hope and to keep pressing on to that destination of more. So thank you again for tuning in today and joining me in the studio. This week's topic, it's courtesy of the love of my life. French had shared on social media. He does these do-rag downloads and just quick nuggets and things to think about. But this week, woo, that do-rag download did a number on me and it really got my wheels turning. I mean, I was thinking, have I set low expectations for myself in life so that I'm not disappointed? You can find them at All Things Fine and Gentry on all social media platforms and go back and take a listen yourself. But this is the question I was left with for myself. Have I set low expectations so that I don't get disappointed? So I began to think and I'm like, I think I'm pretty decent. I'm pretty good. But I also know I could be better. Okay. So really start looking in that thing like, are my expectations low? Now, keep in mind, this is all relative, right? You might look at somebody and say, man, you have super high expectations. My expectations aren't like that. So I'm not comparing myself to anyone else. Like, are my expectations low in comparison to French or other homies that I know? No, 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 no. This is all relative to Catherine. Like, Kat, do you have low expectations? Like in general, based upon what I'm called to do, what I'm capable of, how I've been gifted, the resources that I have. Like, do I have low expectations? And yeah, I know I'm a processor. So I love processing. So I've been thinking about it, and this this example came in my mind. I've seen it recently, hanging out with the kids as we are watching different things on whatever Netflix and reading different books and stuff like that, Disney Plus, blah 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 blah. So as we are engaging and spending time together, I've encountered a couple characters where it's like a thing. Let's call it a it. There's a it, and that it has the ability to take on the size of a whatever container it's stored in, right? So if you get a teeny tiny jar, when you put it in the jar, it shrinks down to only fill up that jar. But if you put it in a ginormous container, yeah, that's that hanging out with kids, that vivid language, that ginormous container. If you put it in a gigantic container, it's literally going to expand and grow and fill up that container. So whatever container it's in, it's going to meet the expectations of that container and be that big and or small. And that took me to like life, like basically back to the low expectations. Like, man, am I shrinking and or growing in life, figuratively, not literally, but am I shrinking and or growing to fit into the container that I've created and placed myself in? Question that I had for myself, and I continue to ponder over, but I would love for you to accompany me on this journey and this thought process of, are you shrinking or growing to fit whatever size container you believe yourself to be in? Now, if you believe that your container has no walls, no limits, that's amazing. Good for you. If you believe that you have a big container, that still can be pretty cool. You believe that you have a small container. Okay, you're getting smaller, you're kind of shrinking. So it depends on what size container you believe yourself to be in. Are you adjusting to fit into that container? Sometimes it's just what we believe about ourselves, but in other times is what we believe about ourselves because what others have spoke into and over us. Either way it goes, what size container, if contained at all, are you trying to shrink and or grow to fill? As we go further with that, I had to stop. And it's like, well, okay, let's not focus on the container size. That's valid. Something to consider and to think about. I just rolled those two together on that blooper there. But what do I think of my potential, like in general? What's my capacity? What am I called to do? What am I willing to do? What do I want to do? A lot of questions. I continue, like I said, to process and think through these things for myself because what I believe that I'm capable of doing is directly tied to what have I been telling myself. What do I believe that I can do? Do I see my potential as limited? Is it limitless? I believe I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me, as it says in scripture. Or I say that, do I really believe that I'm capable of doing all things through Christ? Like what God has called me to do. Do I believe that I'm capable of doing that if I roll with him? What am I telling myself? What am I speaking? What am I believing? Now let's deal with this willingness. Because telling yourself, I can begin to surround myself with people that speak life-giving things into me. I can begin to listen to things that are life-giving. I can begin to write down affirmations and speak them aloud so I can begin to change the narrative of what I tell myself, what I believe. Same difference there. We can walk into and we can begin to change and shift the narrative in terms of what we believe. But willingness. I think willingness, and they're all tied together. They're all connected, but willingness sometimes can be very difficult. What am I willing to do? Because you can be in a ginormous container and be unwilling to grow or increase in size to fill that container. So what am I willing to do? So as I walk through all this stuff, I'm like, man, there's some things that you have to grow beyond. First and foremost, let's grow beyond containers. No limits, no walls. I want to grow beyond that container mindset that I am limited. And that requires us to change our perspective. We have to grow beyond the current perspective we have. Here today, just to let you in on an alternative perspective to the one that you may have. Let's remove the limits off of ourselves. Let's remove the limits that we've placed on God. I was listening to Mary J. Blige a bunch yesterday, so it just popped in my head. Love without a limit. That was those early Mary days. Grow beyond limitation. Sometimes there literally might be limitations that you have, but are you willing to grow beyond that limitation, or what some call the proverbial cap and or ceiling? We talked about that recently, putting in the work to do what needs to be done in order to get the more that you desire. So are you willing to grow beyond, whether that's learning, training, practicing? Like, are you willing to grow beyond that limit? It might require more of us too. But that third thing, that's where it really gets you. Are you willing to move and grow beyond your comfort? Woo. That one hit your girl heavy. I like being comfortable. Temperature, like, your clothes to fit, relax. Like, there's so many different levels and ways where I want to be comfortable. But I strongly believe that there's no growth in comfort. Are you willing to grow and move beyond your own comfort? Great things to think about, great things to consider on our journey towards the destination of more that God has for us. Are my expectations low so that I don't get disappointed? Low expectations. If I am telling myself, believing about myself, and growing into great and mighty things, then where are my expectations? My expectations should be high because I'm capable of reaching and or exceeding those things. Dare to dream, dare to think, dare to believe. For me, in my head now, I say, well, hey, I'm going to believe in me first. I must believe in me. Why do I emphasize first? It's like chicken before the egg. Believe in God or believe in me. I believe in God, but the believing in me first, because I already believe in God, it is now about believing in God in me. So my belief really just isn't in like, Kat has it like that. She got it. No. Rewind back. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So I'm not just really believing in myself. I believe in God in me, that he's willing and able to use me and do through me great and mighty things so that I can expect high, much more. So I need to start telling myself, or consistently tell myself, believe in myself and be willing to grow beyond how I see myself, that I might reach the expectations that I will boldly set, proclaim, establish, write down. If it's not written, it's not real. But write down, like, these are the expectations. This is what I believe that God has for me, that more. Have you written down your more? What's that more look like? Set high expectations and don't worry about being disappointed. Set high expectations and don't expect disappointment. Expect to meet and or exceed those expectations. Run that back. Set high expectations and don't expect to be disappointed. Expect to meet or exceed those expectations. It's the God in each of us that'll see and carry us through to those high expectations, exceedingly and above all that. And that's it for this week, guys. Thank you for stopping by, tuning in. I pray that the series of questions that we walk through, the journey, this part of my process, that it was something that was thought-provoking and caused you to even pause and think about for your own life. What do I expect? And am I just trying to fit into a container? Or are there no limitations, no walls, no constraints? And that I'm believing in the God in me and making sure that the voices surrounding me, those of myself and others, my homies, the community, that they are lifting me up and reiterating who God says I am and what he's called me to be. If this episode blessed you this week, I would love for you to share it with somebody else. Rate and review this episode, the show as a whole. I would love to hear back from you. What are you thinking? Are you growing on this journey? Are you enjoying this homieship? And if you're ready and willing to join the homieship, there's a couple simple things you can do. Click the button below, subscribe today, and make sure you turn on your notifications so that the fresh content hits your eyes and your ears every week. Same mode, same place. I'll be right here. Appreciate hanging out with you today. And remember, until we meet again, that God has more for me, God has more for you. Now let's get it. Take care.